So, welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I am Tom Comparin, he, him pronouns, and I will be your worship associate for today's service, along with Reverend Lynn Gardner. She, they pronouns work for Reverend Lynn. Wherever you come from, however you have found your way here, whether you have arrived feeling confident and centered, or perhaps a bit unsure, a bit lost, we are truly grateful that you have arrived here, chosen to be here this morning. If you are visiting us for the first time, we offer you an extra special welcome.
And now, let us consciously and intentionally receive the gift of our next breath. Maybe settling in more fully into our seats for our time of worship. That is when we lift up that which is of worth.
This morning, we kindle our chalice with these words from Lisa Garcia Sampson. In these wild, historic, and uncertain times, we gather to remember who we are, who we belong to, and what we are called to do.
As we light this chalice, we kindle the spirit of the great turning, the movement for justice alive in this nation today. May we feel it in our bones, and in the stillness of this hour, may we sense it calling our name. Our reading this morning was written by Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, theologian, author, and retired president of Star King School for the Ministry, where she was the first woman to lead a theological school in the United States. She wrote, "In 1976, I began a cross-country road trip on my way to seminary. I traveled with a friend. We had time, so we decided to take back roads. One afternoon, the road passed through rural western Pennsylvania. Late in the day, we came down through hill country into a valley. It had been raining hard, and as we neared a small town, we noticed blinking yellow lights warning of danger. We saw fields covered in standing water and passed several side roads blocked off with signs saying, 'Road closed.' 'Looks like they had a flood here,' we said. Coming into town, we crossed over a bridge over a wide river. The water was high, muddy, and fast. Sandbags lined the roadway. 'Gosh,' we said, 'they must have had quite a bit of high water to contend with here. Looks like they had a major flood.' We headed out of town following a winding country road, captivated by the evidence all around us that there had been a dramatic flood. Then we rounded a bend, and in front of us, a sheet of water covered the roadway. The water was rising fast, like a huge silver balloon being inflated before our eyes. We stopped and started to turn the car around. The water was rising behind us as well. Suddenly, we realized the flood hadn't happened yesterday or last week. It was happening here and now. Dry ground was disappearing fast. We hurriedly clambered out of the car and scrambled to higher ground. Soaked to the bone, we huddled under a fir tree. No longer were we lodged in our familiar vehicle. The cold water of the storm poured down on us, baptizing us into the present, a present from which we had been insulated by both our car and our misjudgments about the country we were traveling through.
Have any of you felt lost lately? And by lately, I mean the last 9 or 10 years. My wife, Carol, and I moved to upstate New York about 25 years ago now. In those pre GPS days, helpful friends and strangers happily offered directions. Go down past where the Grand Union used to be and turn left at the Stewarts. Well, the Grand Union was gone 10 plus years ago already, and seemingly every corner here hosts a Stewart's. We bought maps. Coming from the New York City, North Jersey metro area, as we had learned how to navigate, how to get around in a world built for people like us. Of course, when I say I've been feeling lost, I'm not talking about street directions. I'm talking about everything else. 20 years ago, we were already 5-year regulars here at UUSS. We had become parents. Carol was well settled into her job at the state, and my new career was progressing. We had bought a house. Our American dream blossomed right here in Schenectady. I could see clearly where I had been, where I was headed. And my progress through life's journey fit nicely into the story of American progress, the guiding narrative of which I was raised, a story told and retold, founding fathers, all men created equal, individuality, progress, growth, wealth, some stumbles here and there, yes, but Rosa sat on a bus and Martin had a dream. Protesters bravely resisted a war. Earth Day was established. Cold War shivers ended. And then a black president. The arc of the moral universe bending. Coming from upper middle class white America as I had learned how to navigate, how to get around in a world built for people like me. I was not meant to get lost. My mental maps of the world were critically charted, objectively measured, mathematically accurate. I had followed the proper guideposts, the New York Times, NPR, common liberal thinking. And then the Tea Party, the 2016 election, blatant racism and sexism and transphobia showing up every day, seemingly everywhere. The murder of George Floyd and so many others, a riot at the Capitol, the timidness of my own political leaders. Where was I? Had I tumbled into some parallel universe? Had I grown complacent? How did I not see any of this coming? Together, many of you and I took a look at these beliefs, at how we understood the world. You know those old hand-drawn maps where the seas are filled with serpents and mythical beasts? I came to see that my carefully constructed maps were teeming with unruly beasts, implicit biases born of white supremacy culture, complacency born of privilege, misplaced faith in glorified national narratives, an exaggerated belief in my solo ability to figure it all out. And things were missing from my maps as well. In fact, entire continents were missing. The shameful failure of post-Civil War Reconstruction, the true depths and horrors of Jim Crow, the prevalence and persistence of residential redlining, the fact that the calculations of a team of Black women mathematicians got astronaut John Glenn into space and back safely, just to name a few. So many roads, big and small, bravely traveled, endured, but then deceitfully erased from page and memory. With humility and community, this community, I began to lift up some new guideposts, to clear some of those beasts from the oceans, to resketch the outlines of those hidden continents. And now, 2025, up is down, down is up, day is night, night is day. Good is called evil and attacked. Theft, cruelty, lies, greed, dehumanization are cheered by too many and amplified by fake news and so-called artificial intelligence. Yes, at times I feel lost, but I fight despair. I come here to this place of welcome, this place of renewing values. I'm not going to rely solely on my own maps any longer. I need my community. I need other points of light and enlightenment and encouragement. I don't know how exactly we will navigate our way out of these troubling times, but I'd like to stick close to all of you so that we might make the journey together.
Are you one of those people who has a strong sense of direction? As though you have your own personal compass needle inside? Do you intrinsically know when you are heading west or southeast, just as surely as many of us might identify the smell of coffee or the bright yellow of a sunflower? Well, I am not one of those with a reliable sense of direction. I depend on landmarks, maps, advice, and now a GPS to help me understand where I am and how to navigate. I am fascinated by different species' homing instincts and migration patterns, whether it is snapping turtles, salmon, or monarch butterflies. Each has something in their DNA that says, now is the time. Go this way. In an essay on finding home, Kathleen Dean Moore, a philosopher, author, and environmental activist, wrote, "Scientists say that a wasp can leave a hole in the ground, fly from fruit to fruit, zigging and zagging half the day, and then fly straight home." A biologist once moved the 3 rocks that framed a wasp's hole and arranged them in the exact same pattern, but in a different place. The wasp landed between the rocks, right where its hole should have been, and wandered around stupefied. Like the wasp, many of us may be feeling disoriented, unclear of how we got where we are right now, even as we may be pretty darn sure that this situation we are in isn't where we want to stay. In our reading this morning, we heard an excerpt from an essay from Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker and her experience of driving through Pennsylvania with a friend and misinterpreting signs that warned of a flood. They thought they were safe when actually they were in a very dangerous situation. When she and her friend realized that the flood was happening Right then, and they were about to be swept away, they escaped from their car and scrambled to higher ground. She wrote, no longer were we lodged in our familiar vehicle. The cold water of the storm poured down on us, baptizing us into the present, a present from which we had been insulated by both our car and our misjudgments about the country we were traveling through. Her essay continues. This is what it is like to be white in America. It is to travel well ensconced in a secure vehicle, to see signs of what is happening in the world outside the compartment one is traveling in, and not realize that these signs have any contemporary meaning. It is to be dislocated, to misjudge your location, and to believe you are uninvolved and unaffected by what is happening in the world. Her words remind me again and again that just as I need help from others who have a good sense of direction, I also need to listen to those who are at risk in ways that I am not. Those who have a different or deeper sense of the danger that we are already in. Beloveds, there is so much at stake right now. In these confusing and tumultuous times, we need practices that help us calm our nervous systems and remain present in our bodies, mindful of our surroundings, and heartful to all the beings around us. Because we really need one another. We need to care for one another, like the Chicago residents who are taking their neighbors' kids to school so that their parents won't have to risk being picked up by ICE. We need one another for sharing music, art, poetry, sports, play, faith, conversation, and maybe enjoying a bit of a beautiful September day outside. Sometimes we need to ask for or offer one another grace or space, comfort or company. We also need to help one another pay attention to the landscape around us. We can help each other read and interpret the signs to confirm our coordinates so that we can understand where we are. Because in a world of fake news and AI produced images, there are so many distractions and so much information that is not trustworthy. Just this week, we have witnessed science being disregarded, First Amendment rights being ignored or undermined, and elected officials who continue to have no qualms about lying and repeating those lies as though through sheer repetition and volume, they can turn a lie into the truth. So where are we? Well, from where I am, when I check and recheck all my coordinates, we are in a scary situation. And my coordinates also confirm that I am not alone. We are not alone. Each year, the board creates an annual focus of ministry to guide our work. for all the programs and shared ministry that happens through UUSS. This year, our annual focus of ministry is to make courageous decisions with love at the center and to take collective action to meet this moment together. To meet this moment, we need to start where we are. But what if our coordinates tell us where we are or how we are is afraid or overwhelmed or angry or despondent? Pema Chodron, Buddhist nun, teacher, and author, is clear that starting where we are is really our best option, our only option if we are to stop running away from the truth and affect real change. When she is teaching meditation, a practice of sitting with what is, she says, start where you are. This is very important. It is not about later when you get it all together and you're the person you really respect. You may be the most violent person in the world, she says. That's a fine place to start. That's a very rich place to start, juicy, smelly. You might be the most depressed person in the world, or the most addicted person in the world, the most jealous person in the world. You might think that there are no others on the planet who hate themselves as much as you do. All of that is a good place to start, just where you are. That's the place to start. Our meditation this morning invited us to be present with who we were and how we were feeling right then, without trying to change it, without trying to deny the reality that we find ourselves in, without denying our own tender, particular experience of being human. You might notice that you feel differently now than you did 20 minutes ago. You might still feel the same. Our task in confirming our coordinates is to notice honestly where or how we are, to not be in denial of the reality and the risks of this moment, and then to be present with whatever that is so that we can determine where we might go from here. We need to be clear of our location, our situation, to be able to choose which direction we need to take next. Besides being points on a compass, we can understand direction as the location of something relative to something else. This is true whether we're referring to a personal decision we need to make, to which direction UUSS will move as we prepare to celebrate 125 years of this congregation, where we go as a nation or as a species. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Throughout this year, there will be lots of opportunities to reflect together about where we are as a congregation, as a community, so that we can meet this moment together. Let us be clear about where we are, confirming our coordinates so that we can choose our direction with clarity and with courage. And if you're feeling lost, or if you're surprised by the rising waters of racism, patriarchy, Christian nationalism, xenophobia, transphobia, misogyny, and more, know that we will do all that we can to get to higher ground together. Together, we will use powerful engines of resistance that sustain us where we are and support our movement forward. Together, we can experience the power of joy, the power of hope. We can find strength in one another and be held by a love that is all around us and that will not let us go. May it be so. Salam, shalom, amen, ashe, namaste, and blessed be.